Hey there, look where I was at the weekend. South Coast Summit 2021. I'm not actually sure what events have been going on recently, but this is the first one I'm aware of. I think there's one in North America as well. And I just wanted to talk about what I thought of it and do a little rewind of my time there. So the first thing I want to talk about is the sponsors, actually, because the sponsors were, really the important part of this. And in all fairness, I didn't thank them enough during my session, so I'm going to do it now. So the sponsors that we had were Hitachi and the group of platinum sponsors, but there were also a whole heap of additional sponsors, and these sponsors really did actually make this event actually happen. So you can check out the gold sponsors there. We've got the silver sponsors, sporting sponsors, and so on. And the media was really cool at it. So let's head back to kind of my little rewind of this. But I did want to say just a big shout out to the sponsors for making this thing happen. The venue was really, really cool. So it was the Aegeus Bowl in Southampton. Essentially, it's a cricketing venue. So you had the great big pitch. Cricket pitch in the middle, and then everything on the all the way around. There was the Hilton Hotel as was one end of them, and then at the far end there was the Expo Hall, and then sort of to the sides there were places where people could do the presenting and so on. And they even had these kind of ballroom for bigger presentations, which they were able to cut up in different ways. Really, really great venue, actually. A little bit of walking, but it certainly didn't bother me at all. Organisers, got to thank the organisers, so I'm just going to jump out to do that. So first of all, we've got the primary organisers in the form of Aaron and Nathan. I don't think I saw that much of Nathan on the day, but Aaron, he was dotting around all over the place. And there was also the wider event team. These things just don't happen by themselves. So I've got to take my hat off, if I did have one, to all these wonderful people that were involved in making sure that the tracks actually worked really well. Look at all those fantastic people. There's loads of them. It just really evidences what a great community that we all have. So back onto this rewind. So let's take a look at that. We thanked the organisers, and they were brilliant. Beefies. So this is when I first arrived. I actually had a B&B down the road. I really didn't know where I was going, so I was doing that thing where you follow the sat nav and it kind of takes you here, there, and everywhere, and so on. But eventually, I got to my B&B, parked up, got rid of my gear and so on, and then I headed over to Beefy's, which is the place in the Hilton Hotel where you can have a bite to eat. So I think Beefy must be the nickname for Ian Botham. Anyway, so had a bite to eat there. I'd eaten already, so I just had a pudding. It was nice. It was fine by me. And then we had a rather entertaining payment of the bill scenario where the bill the till just stopped in the middle of whilst people were repaying. It was quite interesting. So there was that, and it was a really nice evening. Loads of people, just great on the whole community side. I will sort of jump out to the whole photos in a bit. Just give you a moment on that. In fact, I'll do it now, actually, because if you look on the South Coast Summit, if you look on Twitter, this is a bit of a view here. Don't worry about the adverts down the bottom there. Loads of people just really, really thrilled to be down there. Look at that. There's a bit of a video done by Diliana with all her oh look, it's got music as well. We haven't got time for this. Look, check it out on Twitter. If you just look up South Coast Summit 2021, you'll find it there. Loads of people. Look, this was on the evening of the quiz night. So you had Keegan, Andrew, and Trisha were hanging out there, just loads of really great photos. I was trying to find one of the actually Aegeus Bowl. This is the Aegeus Bowl, but you can't actually see the inside. There's someone. We've got a new stood outside the bowl. So it was a really great venue. So that was from night one, just really great to meet all the community people. And then day 2 was the hackathon. So essentially it was all around automation, and Will Dorrington did a really great presentation. I'm not a big fan of PowerPoint, but he really made it really work really well. He was talking about the history of automation, even talking about pre-industrialized era and then post-industrialization. It was really interesting to kind of see that sort of that take on things. And then the hackathon itself was all about automation, and we had these flick buttons. I might have a flick button somewhere. Hold on. Flick button, I might have one. Yeah, flick buttons, these things here, they look a bit like this anyway, and essentially you click them, they'll run you a flow, and then because the flow, or rather because it's going through your phone essentially, it knows where you are. And then so people were doing things like, they were saying, well actually, I found that there was a petrol station here, or that I found that petrol station isn't actually working, and using it for emergencies. We did one on making sure that people take their tablets, which seems to be a bit of a theme for me. But there were some amazing ones there. I'm not sure how they're publicising it, but it was a really cool event, and I had a great events team in the form of Angie. It was Angelique and also Joe Griffin, who was flow man on the day. I did bits and pieces as well. My B&B, not a lot to say really. It was a bit strange, if I'm honest. They had it was kind of converted stables and so on. It was kind of okay, but not sure if I'd go there the second time round. You had your breakfast in this granary thing. It wasn't really a granary, it was just can't just call it a room or something like that. But everything was like, anyway, I don't even know how to describe it. It even had a sink in there and so on. And so it was a little bit kind of on the strange side, but it was kind of pleasant. It got the job done. Anyway, so there's a little bit about my B&B. The keynote. Now, the keynotes, I'm not completely familiar with all the names of people, but I know that Donna Sakar did her one. She was last up, but in fact there was a lot about sort of this new ways of working, what we've been through, and how we're sort of moving to teams, and then Donna was talking about how her team had been working during lockdown. She's big into accessibility, and to be honest, I just love the way she presents. I could listen to her for hours. So always impressed to see Donna in action. So moving on, the expo hall. So I then took a wander to the expo hall, but I also had a chat with Cheryl Netley because she needed someone to do her timings for her session. So I said I would give her a visit. So I wandered over to the expo hall. It was nice. It was busy. It wasn't busy at the time that I was there, but it was starting to get busy. But it's an expo hall, so it was interesting taking a wander around there. But I never find myself completely connecting with kind of what's going on. Maybe it's just that it's just so busy, and then I just sort of see so much stuff that I'm kind of like, all this sort of thing. So, but it was it was nice to take a wander around there, and people are just great, glad to be out there, I think. So then I went to see Laura Graham Brown's session on Power BI application lifecycle management. Really interesting, actually. I didn't even know that in Power BI, if you've got premium, you can actually essentially create these effectively a dev, test and production scenario, each of which is pointing at a different database. Really clever stuff, actually. Obviously got to have premium to do that, but it was a really, really interesting conversation that was going on in there at the time. Then I took I don't know if I've got the timings right on this, but I took a wander over to, I've missed out on my session with Cheryl Netley. I'll need to make sure I get that in there. But I did do a session with Ryan Tracy, and he was talking about the Power Platform, and he did my favourite app of all, which is the 3-screen app. Essentially, it's where you have a list inside SharePoint. What he did that was interesting was he took an Excel online spreadsheet, and then he was able to essentially move that into SharePoint. But what was interesting about that was that because it was all kind of online, the way in which it moves in is much better. So you end up getting field types, so whether it's a number or a choice, those things. It was really, really clever, actually. So I really enjoyed that presentation. He did it in 20 minutes. That was crazy. He managed to get a an app and a Power Automate flow done in that time, but as well as talking about the kind of value proposition of the Power Platform as well. So that was really cool. And then I went to see Cheryl Netley. She did her session called One Small Step, but it was a session about community, a little bit about her journey, but really talking about there's so many different ways in which people are engaging with the community, whether or not that's Mark over in New Zealand talking about mentoring. There are so many really cool things that people are doing, and really the message is to say, it's about giving back as well as receiving. There's a lot of people that do a lot of receiving on the internet, and it's important to give back. And although I certainly don't do any of these things to get things back, it's surprising how much you do get back as a result. So her session was really good, and I just love the way that she delivers her sessions. I then went on to a session with Rishi, and there was Chris and Tripana. They were talking about Power BI financial statements. Now, I used to be an accountant, so I've just really avoided anything financial for years now. But these guys, they're really, really good at that sort of thing. And they were showing that there's obviously different techniques. And bear in mind, they had 20 minutes to do this, so they didn't have very long to talk, but it was one of the best ways in which to do a 20-minute presentation I can think of, because they'd actually pre-recorded things, but they knew their stuff so well. So although all this stuff was pre-recorded and the mouse was moving around the screen, each one of them knew exactly what was going on at the time. Really, really high production values. So well done to yourselves on that. And then it was my session after that. So I don't think many people could find my session, which was a shame, because my session, ironically, was kind of all about community. And what I'd done was I'd made these games and so on, and what I did was I split the room into two, and I had an app which was able to express the shape of the room, so I knew where everybody was sitting, and I had a flow. So essentially what I was able to do was ask a question, and then the people would answer it, and they would be able to say what seat, essentially what row and what column they were in, and if they got the answer right, then their little seat would actually light up. And I didn't actually do all of the stuff that I'd intended to do, but I asked the question. So I had this thing where you could actually, there was like a black screen, and gradually things would be revealed. Now, the first one that was revealed was Boris Johnson, but unfortunately they'd already seen the answer because I'd actually put my model German app on the screen at the time, so that was a bit of a shame, but it didn't matter because they'd have guessed him straight away anyway. So the next one was Emma Raducanu. So you had team A and team, well, it was a kind of red team and a blue team, and what happened was the blue team kind of guessed it right. They realised it was Emma Raducanu, but the red team, it was one or the other anyway, had guessed that it was Meghan Markle, and so they got it completely wrong, whereas the blue team, whichever team it was, got it right. And so what I was able to do, which was really cool, was I was able to then rewind the actual ways in which these people communicated to each other. I might actually try and see if I can do that now. So unfortunately, I have to clear the data every time I do it, so you're not actually able to see what happened was. But it was really interesting to see how the room kind of filled up with the different people that answer things. And then what I did was, at the start and at the end, I asked them how they were feeling. And so at the end, I then said, okay, great, well, how are you feeling? And they were able to fill in another form. And what that then did was it then fed the information through to Dataverse, and then the data got read within Dataverse, and they kind of started off and they were about sort of 7.7, which is pretty good, to be fair. But then by the end, I had like an average score of 9. As you can see, not that many people in the room, but you know what? They were a brilliant group of people. They were so great to interact with. So now I'm just going to move back to finishing up. That was my session, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, actually. Yeah, it was definitely well worth doing. And weirdly enough, I missed out loads of material, but that was fine. Then I was really lucky enough to meet this little boy called Pranav, and he's actually the youngest person to pass the PL 900 exam. He's either 7 years old or 9 years old, but I'm pretty sure he's 7 years old. He's 7 years old, and he's passed the PL 900 exam, which I think is brilliant. And so I had a little photo with him. It was really nice, actually. And his dad is a lovely chap as well. And we were just standing around in the sun with the cricket pitch to the side of us. It was absolutely lovely. So it was nice to kind of to do that. And then finally I watched Keith Watling's How I Found Luck presentation. It was just really well done, actually. It was really interesting, and a proper keynote, something to make you kind of like if you were just sat in the car and you're thinking, oh yeah, how I find luck. And it was just really well done, lots of humour, and you can see why they would want to get someone like Keith to do a session like that, because it was just really well done. I haven't done a shout out to Chris Huntington, but he's just such a great guy. He's great to see, larger than life, and it was lovely to see him along with so many other people. I'm not going to mention everybody's names, you know who you were. That's why right at the end, when I was leaving, we were doing the drinks and so on, it took me like 3/4 an hour just to leave, and so it was absolutely great. From my side, I didn't stay for the quiz, just because I had so many more things that I needed to do, and I needed to get back on the Saturday night. But I bet you they had an absolutely fantastic time. And one thing I didn't actually mention was the kind of speakers dinner. That was really nice to go to. That would have been on the Friday night, and I got to meet a whole bunch of people, including Donna Sakar and Louise Fries. It was great. It was really, and it was in the kind of great big ballroom. So it was a lovely event to get to. That really kind of takes me to the end of this kind of South Coast Summit Rewind, but I really want to make sure that I was able to kind of just have something to return to. Sometimes you forget how these things go, and I wanted to make sure that this was something I could return to. And as you can see, I've not put much on the screen, hopefully, so hopefully people have been able to maybe get a bit of a feel for what it might have been like. And from my side, this as an event, as an opportunity to meet people, meet my peers, I really needed this, and I think we all needed it. I got to meet all the people, great people, and that included Damo Bird, and it was just really great. He's an absolutely tall guy, really, I got to the end of it, and I was thoroughly satisfied that I had, I'd drunk my fill at the South Coast Summit. There we are, my South Coast Summit Rewind. I hope you've got a bit of a rewind. Maybe you've got a little blog post in you or something like that you might be able to give. But I think what it really means is that if you do find there are events going on locally, and there will be more of them, do go to them, do support them, because these things don't happen by themselves. Thank you for listening for as long as you've listened. subsequent to that, we actually, it's a bit of a on a kind of sad note, but we actually had a bereavement in our family. So it's on my sister-in-law's side, and really, I think what it tells me is that these events, these things that we do, they really matter. And it's important. I know we all took risks in order to be there, but it was an important risk. It was a risk worth taking, and that these are memories that we'll hold with us for many years to come, which is kind of why I've done this as well. And so just have that in your minds. These are great events to go to, and they really do present wonderful markers within our lives. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another event sometime soon.